The views and opinions expressed on this station do not reflect the owners, management, staff, clients, or partners. Medical House presents Bermuda's most viewed and listened to talk show. The Daily Hour starts now.
Good morning. How's everybody doing this morning?
Good morning. How you, Sherry?
I'm fine.
Oh, well, thank you for that. I was looking at my phone just now, but sorry about that. It's Thursday, the 22nd day of October. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House and Lindos. I'm Jamel Hartman, and these two. Um, oh, that's Carla Zulu and that's Sherry Lynn Pringle. You know, those two are usually here with me starting trouble. Good guy, bad girls. If you haven't already, should the link start a watch party, just get the conversation out there to your network. You can see I'm eager to talk about what I saw on my phone. Another good one for you today. A brilliant entrepreneur in Tallent Clark. He's stopping by and we'll talk to him about what we're going to talk to him about. And hopefully you engage. And after it's all said and done, we support what he's doing. The Daily Play is a name that place. So Shara's going to pick somewhere no one's ever heard of, no one's ever been, and probably no one but herself wants to visit. So Carla and I will be guessing that answer. So I was looking at my phone just now, trying to find. Carla, did you see the Royal Gazette was looking for a news editor, a sub editor, and something else or something? And I saw people on Twitter that were talking about, oh, a news editor only makes 65K or something. And I wanted you to expand on that, but I'm here in my phone, guys. I can't find it, and I'm sure Carla can give us insight, even though I can't find it. But there were a lot of comments on Twitter in particular regarding no wonder no Bermudians want to do it if that's all they're paying, or that's not a lot of money. How are they supposed to survive? What is your take on the? Excuse me, that banana. What's your take on the? Just the perspective people have developed about the jobs and the pay.
Well, first and foremost, because I did see a little bit last week, but people need to understand the news editor is not the editor. So I think some may be thinking that it's Dexter Smith's job, and it's not. It most likely, well, the news editor, I think it's Tim Smith. So it's the chief reporter as such. As far as the salary, being totally transparent, you will never be rich working in in the newspaper. I won't even say Royal Gazette, just at a newspaper. So it's part of the reason why people don't stay in long. But I also think that people need to stop using pay as the barometer, because I started out at the Gazette in 2002, and
Mm-hmm,
it gave me excellent foundation to where I am today.
mm-hmm,
So I think sometimes people think, and I think it's because of the other industries where you can make far more in the beginning, but you have to start somewhere, and you use it as a way to empower yourself. And we talked about it yesterday, differentiating your skills. But also, if you love it and it's a passion, then it's a survivable salary. You may not be able to have the best of
Do us a
things.
favor, caller. You and I meant to say it before we came on. You're coming through extremely low versus Shari and me, and a lot of people are commenting on it. So I'm not quite sure what you.
Can you hear me now?
That's
Is
Yeah,
that
better.
better?
yeah, it's a bit better.
That's better.
Sorry, I turned it up. My bad. I'm going to get used to this whole mic thing. So what I was just saying is that the passion, it's not the newspaper industry has never been an industry where you're going to be rich,
Hmm.
but it is a livable wage.
This is my question because when you look at newspapers comparable and media period, um, do you think your comment is based on Bermuda, or have you seen the same in the UK where you are?
Across the board, journalists do not make a lot of money. They just
In
don't.
newspaper, you mean? Because I
In newspaper across the board, it is not especially at the ground level. It's not a get rich or a live large industry.
mm, interesting. I do remember when I was younger and people would tell me, you know, they don't make much on TV, reading the news and so on, and I would, it always fascinated me. And then once I got to the US, it was a whole different story, right? And I know Bermuda always like spoke about how people got paid so much more than counterparts in the US, but that's not the case with, at least in the media space I was in, because in the media space I was in, people were making silly money um, over in the US versus Bermuda. And in my opinion, it came down to a lot of stuff. The You had one man company, and when you look at that one man company, okay, you have the one man company, so it's almost like monopolizing in that media space in terms of visual. Then you had the one main daily for a while, right? So no competition there. Then there was always the argument there's not enough advertising dollars in Bermuda to make the money to pay people properly.
Mhm.
I guess what I find interesting in all of that is that you're telling me, and this is speculative. Let me be very clear, because one thing you'll never hear me do is attack other people in the same space as us. So it's literally a question. My question is this: are you seriously telling me that someone will pack up from the UK and move to Bermuda for 65K? Not
The
have
answer
housing,
what
no housing, nothing. You're gonna tell me they don't have housing or anything included?
Well, we don't know that, do we?
That's
We
what
don't.
I'm asking.
Well, I mean, that's like you said, it's a speculative question. We don't know that, but I'll give you an example. Right now in the UK, a journalist may make £25,000 a year. Do the conversion, that's about $40,000, but then the cost of living is much lower. So I think it depends. Are they coming and are they doing like people in hospitality, some do, and live multiple to a house so that their salaries go further? Some
Mhm,
people just want to get out of the cold. You use the example of the UK. They just want to get out of the cold
mhm.
and they want to be able to have a bit of fun. If they don't have chick nor child and they can bunk up with someone, to them that's worthy.
You make a great point there. Erica Rance Mills says media in the US have large advertisers. Is that not how they make most of their money? Well, this is a good point that she's bringing up. What people have to understand, there's different market sizes in the US, right? So, market like New York, LA, and Chicago, I believe, are the top three markets. And then you get down to like Boston, 11, and then um, where I was, Providence, Rhode Island, 36. And then you go to some small place in Oklahoma that maybe market 300, right? So, market size does depend on the amount of listeners that you have or viewers, and it can depend on what you charge for advertising and sponsorship for what you're doing. So that is a good point there, Ms. Arago.
The
Cat
other thing, I'm sorry.
says that salary of 65,000 is no. I mean, it was put on. Is it Sizian? I don't know, but that website where people put jobs. So that's why I said it's we're asking questions, and it's not a criticism, but we're literally, because I want to touch on what Carla just said. I and this is not to hurt anyone's feelings. This is not an attack on Carla, but I think what Black people in particular fail to realize when we get out here and we work these jobs and we think $60,000 is a little bit of money, what we're not forgetting is that this is systemic. This is a system. This system was not built for a single parent. This system was not built for a single person. This system was built for the family unit. So if two people are making $50,000 a year and their household income is 100,000, that is how they look at it, is where you're supposed to get by. So always remember, when we talk about salaries and so on, a lot of stuff's based on household income.
And
So we must remember that when we're talking about salaries. Go ahead, Carla.
let me add two more things. One is because I was thinking, I did see that ad. It was an ad that actually generated, I believe, out here in the UK. So you don't know if that organization is making commission. So the budget, which is where I'm going next, for that person, for example, could be 80,000, but they may take a cut. So that's something to think about. And two, newspapers are dying. So people are, and not everybody's a fan of newspapers in Bermuda. So therefore, the less you spend, the less they have to pay their employees as well. There are so many moving parts that I think that we have to look at. And I'm not defending the paper, because when I did it, I remember I had to negotiate my salary down to the T. And you talk about single versus double household. Back then, I knew I needed $600 a week in order to survive and take care of. I just had 2 children at that time. I literally negotiated my salary, and they were so tight that they worked backward, and I took him, no lie, $600.04. Like, that's how much they nickel and dimed. So
Terry Too Cool says, and we don't know what wealth they have built up before coming here. Very true. We don't know what situations they come from. Very, very good point. I want to jump around. We do have Tallent Clark, who is an entrepreneur, brilliant entrepreneur, bought something, and I can't wait to have him on, because being in the tourism space, we go back to when Colin from Sargasso came on. We speak about things all the time. And one of the common themes of everyone wants to start a business, everyone's starting a podcast, everybody wants to make money on their own and be an entrepreneur, but very few do the one thing that is imperative to having a successful business, which is fill a need. And so he actually filled a large need from being in that tourism space. When he joins, we'll discuss it more. But what I want to do is something different. I haven't discussed this with my partners or colleagues, so if I get yelled at, have a couple of scratches on my face tomorrow, this is what it is. So I want to do something. So we've been talking a lot about Bermudians who might be out of work, people who may be on the ropes at their jobs and not know it. So what we're going to do, even though they haven't agreed yet, what we're going to do is we want to encourage anyone who is looking for a new opportunity or wants to make themselves available to send us an email at engage@thedailyhour.com. What we're going to do is profile people on this show to help you get opportunities. Whether you want opportunities to be a consultant, whether you want opportunities to be an entrepreneur, whether you want opportunities, you're putting yourself out there for a job. The reason I feel it's necessary for us to use this platform to do that is because at the end of the day, what has traditionally happened is we've waited for jobs to become available before we apply. What I want to do is give all of you the opportunity to put yourself out there on this show. No charge. This is our gift to every last person, right? Give you the opportunity to connect with someone who may be looking for services that you can offer. So if you're interested, and don't be shy. Look, this is a matter of your livelihood. Don't be shy. So if you are out there and you know someone who is looking for an opportunity, they've been laid off, redundant, or they just are in a space where they want something new. Now, don't get yourself in trouble if you have a job and you're out here applying and they're like, oh, you're looking, because people do what the Daily Hour, right? But we want to do that for every last person. And so if you know someone, if you believe we can help you or someone, engage at thedailyhour.com, and we will feature you on here. We'll talk to you, and we might actually bring you on to talk about what you can do to help better a company. How's that?
Good idea.
Yeah. Okay. So
I'll send you an email.
I was gonna say, Sherry, are we in line too?
Let's do it. Carla, you got some news for us?
I do.
Oh boy. Look, now, man, it looks like some drama happening in look, let's go to Carla, boy, because man, you seeing that stuff about Commissioner Corbish? Man, let me go. Let Carla take it.
I'm not touching that. A food program run by the Anglican Church appealed for help after a massive increase in demand because of hardship caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. The Right Reverend Nicholas Dill, the Bishop of Bermuda, said the cathedral in Hamilton used to serve about 50 people a week with its breakfast program before the coronavirus crisis. But he added numbers had skyrocketed to about 120 people a day since COVID-19 hit Bermuda earlier this year, and the program had been forced to expand from 2 days a week to 7 and serve 3 meal sittings a day. Right Reverend Dill said the program had sufficient funds to buy food supplies to cover present demand until the end of the year, but was in desperate need of volunteers and kitchen appliances and that extra cash would cover any increases in numbers. Travelers headed to Bermuda from New York now have access to a quick COVID pre-travel screening service in keeping with the Bermuda government's health protocols. The Bermuda Tourism Authority announced a collaboration with the Open Clear Testing Service in New York to offer the screening every Tuesday and Thursday starting next week. About 1/3 of Bermuda's leisure tourists have traveled from New York since the island reopened to commercial air travel. In other news, anti-bullying and harassment clauses are to be included in the collective bargaining agreement for the Bermuda Public Services Union. President Armel Thomas said bullying and harassment must not be confused with exercising managerial authority. It is important to distinguish between a person who is reasonably exercising legitimate authority at work in an appropriate way and a person who is bullying and harassing. The move followed a BPSU survey in 2016 in which 48% of respondents personally experienced bullying in the last 12 months. A further 58% reported they had seen bullying or harassment on the job in the last 6 months. The preceding stories were courtesy of the Royal Gazette. Meanwhile, BBC News reporting Manchester United star Jamal Ighalu has become one of the latest celebrities to voice their support for protests against police brutality in Nigeria. In a video on Twitter, the Nigerian striker called his country's government a shame to the world. It comes amid reports that several people have been shot dead or wounded during demonstrations in Nigeria's biggest city, Lagos. Officials initially denied anyone died and have promised an investigation. Mr. Ighalu, who has won 35 caps for Nigeria's national football team, said in his statement that he could not remain silent anymore. I'm ashamed of this government. We are tired of you guys, and we can't take this anymore, end quote. Jokes about disabilities can be very mean-spirited and hurtful towards those who have those disabilities as well as their friends and families. Stuttering can pose real problems in both the personal and professional lives of those suffering from it and takes years to get under control, not to mention the amount of embarrassment and frustration it can cause in the meantime. The best way to celebrate International Stuttering Awareness Day is to read up on some talented and influential individuals who have had to deal with a stutter and how much work they did to overcome it. Turning to weather, Bermuda's expected a high today of 80. It's going to be about 76 in New York and 55 in Manchester, UK. Don't forget, Medical House is your number one source of PPE supplies, masks, face shields, disinfectants, sanitizers, glove gowns, no-touch thermometers, and so much more at the lowest prices. Visit Medical House today at 22 Millreach Lane in Pembroke. And don't forget to tune into the full100radio.com tonight for Nighttime Jams featuring some of your favorite romantic classics. That's your Daily Hour News Break.
All righty. Yes, we will be right back after this short break with Tallent Clark, a Bermudian entrepreneur and visionary.
Good day, Medical House, Doris speaking. Can I help you?
Medical House is Bermuda's leading one-stop shop for healthcare. Bermuda's top doctors, dentists, care homes, and the hospital choose Medical House for a wide range of products.
Anything that we ask them to do, they come through.
These same professional quality products are available to you for home health care.
If we can use them, we definitely do so.
Medical House is best known for its uniforms and footwear. It also has restaurant uniforms that stand up to even the toughest shifts. If you're on your feet all day, Medical House has comfortable and stylish shoes that are also durable and easy to clean. Everyone needs some help cleaning up, and Medical House has got it. Leading-edge janitorial, facility, and maintenance supplies are all here. Medical House is on Millreach Lane in Pembroke, where there's private parking right outside the door. Call or visit Medical House today.
Humans have been harvesting the tuna fish for over 2,000 years, probably first from the Mediterranean, casting nets from the shore. The ever-increasing demand for tuna reached its highest point in the early 1950s, and the catch statistics reflected a saddening downward turn in the tuna population. Modern seafood companies like Crown Prince have responded by driving initiatives which increase sustainability of the schools of one of the world's favorite fish. Try Crown Prince albacore tuna in water. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
All right, welcome back to the big show. Carla Zool, Sherilyn Pringle, myself, Jamel Hartman. It's the Daily Hour. Thanks again to Crimson Multimedia on Channel 82, where you can watch this show daily at the same time, same place, and they do replay it at 6 p.m. every evening as well. Thanks again to Lindo's and Medical House, proud sponsors of the Daily Hour. Don't forget, you can watch this show throughout social media on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, as well as the websites of the Full 100 Radio and the dailyhour.com. If you haven't already, look at the scroll down bottom, download the Full 100 Radio app, available for Android and Apple devices, and you can listen to us on the go in the car rather than those boring traditional radio stations. You like that, Dig? I do that. Without further ado, though, we have a big guest, and we don't normally do this, but what I like about this guest, not only are they a frequent viewer and contributor to this show, but when sometimes I take interest in people that are frequent, and I just looked at his business and so on, and was a big fan of it. I love what he's done. So without further ado, let's bring in our guest for the day, Tallent Clark. Welcome to the show.
Thank you guys for having me.
No problem. Let me just say this before we even get into the show. If Carla returns to Bermuda, she has an accident record. You might want to.
She's on our block list already. Got it. Noted.
See, you want to start on bad. All right.
But look. When I worked at tourism, right, I was actually the business development manager for corporate groups. So what that meant, and just to give people an idea, is I was the one that was in charge of getting, so let's use a big banking corporation. And banking corporations may have a department of 40 people in their sales. And so if that department exceeded their expectations or goals, they were looking for a place to take them as a reward the next year. So instead of giving them a bonus, they would take them on an incentive trip. So I focused on incentives and groups. And so one of the challenges that I had in that position was, well, I had many. I mean, that's not a dig at Bermuda. No, it's not. Yeah. Many, because Bermuda is seen as more expensive. Bermuda's always compared to the Caribbean. Bermuda, it's a hard sell. And if you're not in that space, you really won't understand how hard a sell Bermuda is. And I see so many young Bermudians on Twitter often like, oh, Bermuda is so easy, this and that. And I'm like, has opened up. Bermuda has a lot of challenges, but one of the questions that used to come up, because again, if these people are bringing all these staff on an incentive trip, and one of the things we promote is the ability for people to roam around the island on their own. You don't need to go on a tour bus or this and that, although that you have those options. One of the challenges was companies did not want the responsibility of having their employees on mopeds at the time. They were like, it's too dangerous. I heard stories from some reps where they had clients go down and the person left on an air ambulance. And I would calm them down and say, that's not the norm. It may happen once in a blue moon, but they would always ask, when are you going to get rental cars? And so I would say, explain to them, break it down. Well, there's a 1 car per household rule in Bermuda, and this is why we don't have rental cars. And then here comes Rugged Rentals, and I think there's another company, Twizzies, and so on. But I guess my question to you is, how important do you feel it was to add safer transportation options And what were some of the hurdles that you had to clear to make it happen?
Oh, well, if we have all day, I could go through all my hurdles if you'd like. To be honest with you, no, but absolutely, it was very important for firstly the Bermuda government to recognize this as a necessity rather than a want or a fantasy. Our whole ethos at Rugged Rentals was to provide a safer, alternative, and sustainable mode of transportation for our guests or our visitors, as well as locals, to be honest. Yeah, so obviously, with that in mind, me and my partner set out to look for transportation options to provide to these visitors and locals, and then thus came up with Rugged Rentals and the electric Hummer. As far as hurdles, the major hurdle that we encountered was that there was no legislation to allow us to even begin to provide an option of a rental car. The law of the Motor Car Act 1952 simply stated, as you know, as archaic as our judicial or our legislative system is, a lot of laws are outdated, and it stipulated that guests couldn't rent a car; they could only rent 50cc auxiliary cycles. And that just wasn't safe at all, considering our research showed that we averaged one death a year per visitor on a rental cycle since 2011, I want to say. So that right there just gave us the whole motivation to provide an alternative transportation. And that's when we started meeting with ministers of transportations, and there was a whole slew of them, and trying just to get, a simple change of at first we thought it was a policy, but then the many meetings with the PS and ministers just simply stated, look, it has to be a whole new legislation introduced, and then moving forward from there, we had to find a car that fit the actual legislation. There was a certain length requirement. There was only to be 2 seats, so you couldn't have a potential 4-seater. It had to fit within a certain power exemption, so it couldn't be over 15 horsepower at the time. It's changed now to I think 20 horsepower or 40 horsepower. From the legislation, that gave us the framework to then look at what type of vehicles were out there in order for us to then bring here and introduce it.
So I was on your site yesterday, and one of the things that I saw was the intro video. So they're left-hand drive. So my question is this: you know how the tourists do the usually, I don't know, 15-minute training up and down and back. What type of training or testing for you to be comfortable that they're okay do they have to go through?
Yep. So our initial, so we only have 7 vehicles right now in the fleet, and literally this was a test of concept, a proof of concept. We literally called the manufacturer and told them to send us what they had, and they only had left-hand drive, which is going to change as of this weekend when we get new cars. But I digress. With regards to the training, we simply give a tutorial. Every single one of our visitors or our guests or our customers drive a car. They have a license, which is totally different than if they were to rent a moped, because not a lot of people are used to riding mopeds. So it's not necessarily a tutorial teaching them how to drive. It's more of the concept of getting them used to the left-hand drive on the left-hand side of the road. And then obviously, as of this weekend, when the new cars come, it's just going to be a matter of getting them used to staying on the left-hand side of the road. Now, on a bike, people are more prone to switch their whole driving mentality and go back or revert to the right-hand side of the road, where we find from what our customers have given us as feedback is because they're in a car, they're more aware of the cars in front of them and the cars coming on the opposite side of the road. to whereas they don't necessarily find themselves having to, revert back to the left-hand side of the road. It just comes natural because they're following traffic and they're noticing traffic on the opposite side of the road going the opposite way. Whereas a bike, to be honest with you, I think because they're out in the open, and I'm speculating, of course, they just feel free movement and go where they feel their brain has them going. So it's not more of a tutorial on teaching them how to drive, because they all know how to drive, and we require a driver's license for every single one of them. So it's just a matter of keeping them on the left-hand side of the road and getting them used to that.
Now, I also noticed it's that minimum of 5 years old. So did I understand that a passenger should be at least 5 years old? Is that what that meant?
Correct. So with the legislation, we don't provide child booster seats, and we find that majority of children 5 years and older, it's kind of like you have to be this certain height to ride the ride, right? So for insurance purposes and liability purposes, we made that minimum age of 5, just to be safe, and they can actually fit the seatbelt around them without a booster seat.
Okay. As a tourist dependent business, how have you been able to pivot, being that there's been a huge reduction in visitors coming to the island due to the pandemic?
Sure. The first thing that saved us, and I don't know if this is a good thing, but we do have a small fleet. As I originally said, we have 7 cars, and that kind of helped with regards to our overhead expenses, and not having a whole bunch of assets sit idle. For the lockdown, we found corporate donors. Thank you, BF&M. Thank you, Bermuda Emergency Fund, to provide us with at least a break even to manage those costs, and to allow us to donate those cars to nurses at nursing homes and frontline workers. So the cars just weren't sitting idle, doing absolutely nothing. They were actually put to use. And that allowed us, to allow transportation for those on the front line. But B, it also gave opportunity for us to have the cars out there because they are their own advertising vehicle, right? You see it, you automatically want to call you want to call us and try and book, or at least visit our website. So that helped us as well. And just with the low visitor turnout this year, we've actually seen an uptick since the airport opened. I mean, first I need to shout out to the locals that supported us in May and June, when we reopened, to get out the house, because nobody was going nowhere, and they absolutely took advantage of our reduced rates and utilized our services. So thank you for all those who booked our car. But as we saw the airport open up, again, because we have such a low fleet, we are able to supply the demand, and sometimes, we're over demanded. So, thankfully that was a help rather than a hindrance.
Not a bad problem to have, is it?
Not at all. Not at all. Talk to me in January when we should have 50 cars.
I did read that you were hoping to have 50 by March, right?
Yeah.
So you and your business partner were both full-time employees of private companies. You went out, you started Rugged Rentals, and then the pandemic hit subsequently. What lessons have you learned as an entrepreneur during these challenging economical times?
Definitely and this is the word of 2019 and 2020 is pivot. It's been challenging, but to have a constant growth mindset and to be looking for opportunities and always be on your toes has definitely taught me to, I guess, look for opportunities out there on how to utilize the vehicles, and also, business aside, how to also utilize time. We had so much idle time during lockdown that I actually began a medication delivery service for free for the diabetes center. I partnered with Colin from Sargasso, as well as a few of the Sean Reel from the Ignite program. We collectively came together and decided I needed to get out the house, and also what needs could we fulfill that, there was an opportunity out there for us to do. And we came up with this grocery delivery for the most vulnerable customers out there, as well as medication through diabetes. So we also partnered with Marketplace. Thank you, Marketplace. That allowed us to do a shop on Sundays, and we partnered with the BHC, Bermuda Housing Corporation, to provide groceries to the vulnerable and the seniors. And so just having that time allowed us to take a step back from business and do some humanitarian efforts. And, you know, that, to be honest with you, that was beneficial as far as, you know, giving us some leeway or some getting us out of the house, right? Because I know I was going a bit stir crazy for a minute there.
Talent. Many parents and young people are hoping that these type of vehicles will be offered for local purchasing and as an alternative to motorcycles. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I welcome it, to be honest with you. I literally, every time I see a friend of mine's or a colleagues of mine's son or daughter going 16, and it's just, it makes me, you know, think about my daughter when she's 16, like, gosh, do I put her on a bike, or, you know, do I try and galvanize government support and allow these vehicles to be drivable by 16-year-olds or teenagers, which is far safer than a motorcycle. Just knowing my crazy record on a motorcycle, I definitely wouldn't want my daughter to partake in it. But no, I absolutely support it. You know, if government were to allow a regular car and these mini cars on the same assessment, then I would absolutely support it. And it's, to be honest with you, we've had quite a bit of interest, not only from, you know, worried parents, but from regular day adults that obviously want a second car to be able to drive into work. Or, you know, the typical scenario is the wife normally has the car and the husband normally has the bike, right? So the husband absolutely wants something to be able to go into town or to go to the store, or just have a set of four wheels that they can drive wherever they need. And we're absolutely in support of that. It's just a matter of the government being able to make legislative changes to allow that. I know a couple of my competitors are actually for it. It's just government needs to be able to make that change in order to allow us.
That's great. How instrumental have family and friends been in promoting and supporting your business? The rental vehicle industry has become quite competitive. What gives Rugged Rentals the edge?
Have you seen our vehicles?
Yeah, they're cute. They're pretty cute.
And I say that kind of jokingly, kind of not. So the first thing people appreciate is the ability to be either fully convertible or the option of having a roof. The second, you know, beneficial benefit to them is having side by side. They're used to driving a regular car, so, you know, obviously side by side fits them. You can talk to your partner; they can help you navigate, etc. And then the cool factor, right? The ability to take pictures and display them on Instagram. And that's, you know, a lot of people, number one adjective is being cute. They like the cute factor. And to be honest with you, you know, it's a lot of the times the wives or the girlfriends that are making the decision when they travel to Bermuda on what transportation it is. They don't want a moped. And they often choose us because how they see it is like, they refer to it as a Barbie car. And we're okay with that because it gets them through the door. So, you know, just to, another shameless plug is the next ones, they will be more beneficial because they'll be right-hand drive, and they actually will have a longer battery range of 100 miles. So to be honest with you, the need to charge on the new fleet will be a lot less needed.
Interesting. We have quite a few comments coming through. Here's a question from Landria Stays. Says, how many accidents do they have yearly from tourists and locals? Landria, are you asking in terms of Bermuda as a whole, or Rugged Rentals? Just clarify, and then we'll come back to that one. Want to see if you agree with this. Erica Rance Mill, we need to phase out the rental cycles. They are not regulated, something that has been written into the mini car legislation. Sorry. Companies are now regulated and can have their license to operate suspended. What do you think of that?
Well, I'm not here to, talk negativity about my competitors. However, like I said before, our whole ethos was on safety, right? And when we took a look at the research, and we found that, again, there was 1 death per year on mopeds from visitors visiting the island. At the first death, immediately it should have been something looked at, right? So we understand, and we recognize that, and that's why we were set up. Now, whether they're going to be phased out, that's going to be an approach taken on by those who provide that mode of transportation. I won't speak on it, because that's another man's bread and butter. But just know that that was our whole motivation for starting our business in the first place, was safety, safety, safety. So that's all I can say to that.
Indeed. And another comment from Erica Rance Mill. I helped draft the final legislation as RSC chair and get it passed. The biggest opposition at the final hurdle were the taxi drivers and their striking. Once we met with the association, we collaborated on what they would accept. Now,
Yeah.
Obviously, Bermuda is one of those places where, cab people, transportation, tourists, it's a great relationship. Do you feel like what you're offering threatens somewhat that?
No, not at all. And just to put it out there, I myself am a part-time taxi driver. So I don't feel that what we're offering for any of the mini cars that are out there, myself or my competitors, are taking away from what the taxis provide. First, we can only take 2 people. And that was a part of the stipulations that I believe Miss France Mills was talking about. Allowing only 2 people in our cars strictly prohibits on who's allowed to take us. Normally, if we have a family of 3, 2 adults, 1 child, they typically don't choose any of the mini car options unless they're fairly well off and can afford to do so. The second option is we're not allowed to be at the airport. And that was, from my understanding, was put into the legislation in order to assist with the taxis, because we know that that's their bread and butter. A lot of taxi drivers wake up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and head straight to the airport pre-COVID. So we understood that. And then, we understand that another stipulation was to allow the taxi drivers to start bringing in secondhand cars, because it is a costly affair. And we understand that, $100,000 taxi permit is the norm. And you add a $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 taxi on top of that from prior to when this legislation was passed. We understand that there's a high barriers of entry. And so I respect the taxi drivers, considering I am one as well. So I understand the plight. I understand the fight that they go through. But it was just time for Bermuda to step up in the tourism game and provide a safer alternative to mopeds. And of course, rental cars were the option. And in order to appease the taxi association, we had to put stipulations on it, and we understood that. And then that's how, that's when we started looking at cars to fit the regulation. So there, to be honest, in this market, we see that there's enough bread to go around. We're tackling a certain segment of the market. Taxis are always going to be needed. There just needs to be an improvement on dispatch.
Well, I know you're on LinkedIn, so I know anyone who's on LinkedIn will see this as this, I guess it's a meme, and it shows like companies that did not exist like at a certain time. So like in 2007, this didn't exist, that didn't exist, whatever. I would love to see a compilation of companies in Bermuda like yours that are filling needs, that are changing the game. Legislation is changing to offer a better product, to see how far Bermuda's come, because I think Bermuda gets so much flap in the tourism space. And I know a lot of Bermudians have complained about red tape, but this is something that actually comes up in conversations when you're in high-level conversations trying to get businesses to come to Bermuda. It definitely comes up. But I think right now it would be beneficial to actually show something like that. what Bermuda was even in 2015 versus what it is in 2020. And I think your
Yeah.
company has a lot to do with that. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I agree. I mean, me and Colin, I'm good friends with Colin, and we have discussions often. And I mean, just what, last year, 2 years ago, Sargasso didn't exist, right? And I think it's this whole innovative push right now, especially with Bermuda entrepreneurs. Everybody wants ownership. Everybody wants to get into owning their own business, and I think it is absolutely great. It's just Bermuda and our red tape policies. Bermuda is known as an island or a country of no, and we just literally have to do away with not opening up our minds and stepping outside of that quote unquote box and be able to allow us to the entrepreneurs and free market to be able to expand and do what we want innovatively. And if it, teeters on the risque side, then obviously, yes, have some regulations put in place or policies, but don't say no from the get and not allow us to expand on our opportunity at hand.
Indeed. Well, so this is what's going to happen. So we're supposedly going to all be in Bermuda in December. So Carla's going to drive me around in one of these rugged rentals.
Yes. Oh, Carla.
No, hold on. Let me.
Whoa.
Wait a minute, Tallent. Let me clear the record because I will slap your mouth. Okay, I have been driving stick shift for over almost 30 years, and I've never ever had an accident in my life. Ask him how long he's been driving, and I'll leave it at that.
Fair enough.
And an automatic, probably.
Considering you've been driving longer than I've been alive, I mean.
So he owes me an apology. But as I'm listening to you, and I'm just like, I think it would be perfect. I was thinking that. I was like, because when you come home, as someone that lives overseas, you come home, and I know that sometimes for me, a taxi is the only option. It does add up. But if I want to go zip and see auntie and, go up on everyone, it's worth renting from you and doing everything in one day and no gas.
Right. Exactly.
So,
and so that's another benefit of these cars is even if you were to rent from us for a whole month and plug the car up to your house for the whole month, you're literally only going to be spending about $15 in electrical costs.
Really?
Wow. It sounds economical as environment friendly and economical. Charles Jeffers says, I applaud all those who were involved in bringing this to fruition in Bermuda. Bermuda's tourism product is going to need more innovation to get us where we want to be. Cherie Dills, the more options we make available to our tourists, the more attractive of a destination. Some will prefer a taxi, others car rental, and some mopeds. It should be enough opportunity available for that. And I think that I agree with Cherie. That goes back to the question about mopeds. Like, no, I don't think they should go away. I think there are a lot of people that want to experience Bermuda that way. Like it's the new airport. People keep saying, oh, I love the fact that we're having the things that take you to the plane rather than the steps now. What's those things called?
Jet bridge.
Jet bridge. And one of the things, and no lie, I want to say almost every client I ever met with in tourism, that's probably one of the things they loved about Bermuda most. The fact that as soon as the plane door opens, they feel a breeze. They're right there. The ocean's right there. So they wouldn't prefer a jet bridge, because when I was saying we're going to have a new airport and jet bridge, and they're like, why? That takes away from the best welcome you could probably get. And so
humidity.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm a fan of the jet bridge, but it's not about us. It's not about me. It's not about Bermuda. It's about the people you're trying to get there to make your destination tick, right? Leslie White says taxi drivers simply need to make themselves more, I think she said, I guess, innovative. So I think what you're saying, and I think many would agree, is when you have a challenge like this, when you see something else coming along, just go back to the drawing board and see what you can do better or what you can add to the services you already offer. On that note, Tallent, anything else you want to tell people before you head out? What can Bermudians do to help you and make sure that your business is a success?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we're going to be up to a fleet of 50 cars, hoping by January. So there's been a lot of interest for locals and visitors coming in on the 12-month visa provided by the government to do long-term rentals. Obviously, with such a small fleet right now, we can't provide that. But as soon as we do have a full fleet, we're going to be looking at introducing a long-term rental rate. What that is to be determined. But know that we are thinking about those that don't have regular transportation on the island, that want to do the long-term rentals, and we will be providing something in the near future. We are also partnering with 2 local insurance firms. I don't necessarily want to name them just yet because nothing has been signed or agreed to, but we are in talks to providing local rentals for those that are getting their cars fixed by their insurance claims, to partner with those insurance companies to provide you a rental. A lot of people don't realize, but in your premium, you actually pay for a rental vehicle to be supplied to you, and we are going to be providing our cars to be allowed to do that. So look out for more innovative stuff from us. With regards to our fleet, with regards to our new locations that are coming on board by January. And just want to say thank you for all those who have supported, and just look for more from us coming soon.
All right, Tallent Clark, thank you so much for coming and having this conversation. You have fans in us, and I promise when Carla's driving me around, I will make sure that she uses that 30 years of experience to keep us safe.
Yeah, we're going to force her to do the collision damage waiver. Got it.
Absolutely.
Oh, we go, but hold on though. However, I'm gonna have to sneak in the booster seat for Jamal. Okay.
Shots fired.
That's our best one yet.
We don't provide those, so
all right, Carla, I see you. But thanks again, Tallent. And if there's anything we can do, just shout us and we'll make it happen, bro.
Absolutely, guys, and appreciate all that you guys do every morning.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You as well.
Carla, I tell you, we're not even going to take a break because I'm going to let her think about apologizing to me for that short joke, folks. Especially when she's got like a foot shorter than me, but no, but that what are you, real quickly before we even go any further, what are you guys' thoughts on the jet bridge real fast? You guys are fans of the jet bridge, no?
Coming from the UK where it's cold and muggy, I love when I land and I just feel the sea breeze and the humidity. And it's like, you're like, I'm home. I just love that.
I feel you. Are you in favor of the jet bridge, Sherry?
I like the jet bridge because you have to consider the disabled and the process that they have to go through and and I've come home and seen elderly people just being pelted in the rain. So I think there's the process to get through our airport is so short that there is enough time for them to smell and feel and all that stuff as soon as they get through arrivals.
Okay, interesting. Like I said, I think from what I would encounter, a lot of Bermudians seem to favor it because of things you just mentioned, as well as the weather and so on. But when I was on the road, like I'm talking deep in middle America, like these companies that drove visitors to Bermuda. Minneapolis is probably one of the biggest places in terms of incentive houses, which drive business to Bermuda. Many people would say, Minneapolis, really? But they would always say, look, that walking down those stairs, when they smell that air, that is probably, it's something they don't get throughout the U.S. when they're traveling domestically. So it's going to change the experience, but I don't think it's going to be a deal breaker per se.
No, I don't think so. And especially you're not asking the people on the other end, like have you ever had to go somewhere, depart and get caught in the rain? And then the whole airplane smells like wet dog and you're wet and you're cold. So it's a,
But how about this, guy? How about
that don't make sense, Sherry.
What's that?
What do you mean it doesn't make sense?
Because if you mean the plane smells, because remember you're indoors the whole time.
No, I'm talking about without the jet bridge, if you're leaving Bermuda and you get caught in the rain going to the plane, you are in wet clothes the whole time.
In the plane. I thought you said in the airport, right? I got you.
No.
So here's a suggestion where everyone can win, right? How about they only use the jet bridge when it's bad weather or when they have a person who needs assistance getting on north? I think the option, obviously that's just a pipe dream. Like, why would we do all of that? But I think it could be something that doesn't take away that experience. Just throwing it out there. Maybe we'll have the CEO of the airport on soon. I did WhatsApp him, see if he'd come on. He said yes. So hopefully when the airport opens, we can get them on to see what the experience is actually going to be like. Shari, do you have a trivia question for us? This is the Daily Playtime, isn't it?
It sure is. And yes, we're going to Europe today. I don't think I've done this one before. This place can be called one name or another. It has 17 million people, and it's about 16,000 square miles. It's famous for cheese, windmills,
Oh,
and wooden
Amsterdam,
shoes.
Netherlands.
Okay.
My brawn is, yeah.
Okay, here's what I'm in. Whatever, Carla.
It can
So
also be called Holland. Holland and Netherlands are the same.
here's what I'm going to need you to do. Here's what I'm going to need you to do.
What?
If you're going to name European country, you know how I learned geography? Watching football. Can you put like Ruud van Nistelrooy was a top player for this or something? Like, can
Didn't
you
you just tell me a couple of days ago not to mention football?
No, he said not to mention Manchester United.
No, I think I did say football.
No, he said football.
But see, you said cheese. Amsterdam. I'm saying Amsterdam. See where my head's at. Holland ain't there for cheese. Holland is there for red light district and broader sister.
You're right. 500
What's the red light district, Carla?
I find it fascinating. Basically, it's where ladies of the night, but it's very regulated, and they have a window and they have a red light. And if the light's on, I think it means they're busy or they're available. I don't know, because I'm not into that, but I'm fascinated by it.
So hold on. What do you mean available? Like, talk. No, sir. What
it's prostitutes, but they're regulated and stuff. And it's funny because you see the man going in, and some men are looking around to see if someone's looking, and the journalist just looking, but I don't know you, so I don't care. And then you have others that just walk in and they close the light.
Taking a walk by and you seen it?
Yeah, it's the red light district, and then the women are in the window in their lingerie. And the young girls, though, that's the only thing that hurts my heart. It's like, do you have to do this? But it's very regulated. No STDs and all of that.
I wonder if Bermuda could benefit from that as an additional tourism experience.
Maybe.
Maybe
we all know. We all know that bleep is the international language. So
what's bleep, Carla? I'm a little.
I am not saying that. Shouting at me.
You all gotta help me. Like I seriously don't know what bleep is. But I'm gonna ask you after the show what bleep. But anyway, Carla, you got any inspiration? This is such a family show.
This has been a great show. I've really enjoyed today.
Yes, definitely.
Plus, you got the doctor right, so that's a bonus, right?
And Tallent's got me all excited because, God willing, I will be driving one of those vehicles only with a right-hand drive. So, because I can't do left-hand. One of the greatest skills of leadership is being unflappable. Anytime you do anything in the world, there's going to be criticism. Arianna Huffington.
Oh yeah, Huffington Post lady right there. So any final words from you guys? I'm gonna Google red light district after the show to see if I can propose something like that in Bermuda. Well, you all have been saying that we need to be innovative and bring different things. Isn't this different?
You know what Tallent said that stood out? He said Bermuda's the island of no, and he's so correct. That really resonated with me.
Yeah, I mean, the culture of no has been said for so long. I remember recently they were trying to have ATVs up on the tracks, and the environmentalists and people were saying no. And I think that's where, it's a challenge, because so many, when we say no, other places just say, okay, well, we'll do it. And then it happens. So I think Bermuda has to make a decision as to what kind of destination it wants to be, truthfully.
Yeah. Well, and it goes with decriminalization, right? Marijuana, prostitution. I mean, just if you decriminalize certain things, then maybe they can happen. But right now, it's illegal.
They need to legalize it. Bottom line. Quickly, any final words, Shari?
I had something on my mind, but it just kind of slipped when I just said what I just said. So just have a great day, everybody. Oh, I know. In the paper today, there supposed to be a report on statistics on road safety. I just asking people to just continue to make a difference on our roads by implementing some defensive tactics.
Indeed. Carla.
Be safe and be kind.
All right. Tomorrow, don't forget, we have the head of the public service, formerly known as the civil service, Dr. Derek Binge, joining us. So should be an interesting show. Otherwise, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. Channel 82, Crimson Multimedia, Lindos and Medical House. You're is it real MVPs? There we go.
Thanks for tuning in to The Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House. All recorded episodes and highlights can be found at thedailyhour.com. Stay connected with us by following us at The Daily Hour on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.